The Wolli Creek Valley is inner southwest Sydney's environmental gem. We're going to explore its eastern end by canoe and on foot. Our trip starts at the River Canoe Club of New South Wales on the banks of Cooks River.
Gently, ease yourself out. That's right. Now we should mention let us long to anyone here.
Wolli Creek Preservation Society and the River Canoe Club run these expeditions 4 times a year. After a familiarisation session for novice paddlers, the group sets off down Cooks River, passing under Unwin's Bridge. It's only a short paddle to the Wolli Creek Junction at the Illawarra Rail Line Bridge.
Upright and lean forward a little bit.
Just after entering Wolli Creek, the expedition rafts up as guide Deb Little briefly introduces the Aboriginal and European history of the creek.
The original name for Wolli Creek was actually Cabbage Tree Creek. There used to be a lot of cabbage tree palms in this area along Bardwell and Wolli Creek, and it was it was a short-lived bush industry. They made hats out of cabbage tree palms, but in doing so they ended up killing the palms.
After Deb's talk, the paddlers push on, passing Waterworth Park and the new suburb of Wolli Creek. The struggle to save the Wolli Creek Valley from the threat of an 8-lane motorway raged for a quarter of a century. But in 1998, the government decided to put the M5 motorway underground, and the valley's naturally flowing creek, bush and open space was saved. Continuing up the creek, the expedition passes the historic southwestern suburbs sewer aqueduct. In 1989, a century after its completion, this great example of late 19th century engineering was included on the register of the National Estate. Further on, mangrove forest lines the banks, creating a refuge and feeding place for juvenile fish. These mangroves are recent regrowth. Mangrove ash was prized for making soap, and the original forests were chopped down and burned in the early 19th century. Where there's a high water table, the creek flats are covered by Phragmites reedland and salt marsh, an endangered ecological community now rare in the Botany Bay region. After passing the Henderson Street industrial area, the creek narrows further. Soon the expedition comes ashore at Torella Reserve. And that's where we're heading, Nannygoat Hill. Peter Stevens from the Preservation Society explains how environmental restoration is improving
We've been getting
biodiversity.
quite a lot of new birds that are either have never been here before or very, very rare over the period that we've got records for. Brown quails have turned up. They get a lot of cover, so they're not disturbed by other things. The fence stops foxes getting at them, and there's loads and loads of seed in some of these plants that are growing here, so they're as happy as Larry.
After inspecting recent creek bank revegetation work, the expedition visits the new fishway at the Henderson Street Weir. It enables native fish to navigate between the salt and fresh sections of the creek.
From one saltwater to freshwater in order to breed or to eat. Different fish go different ways at different stages of their life.
Native fish aren't the only fauna returning to the upper reaches of the creek. Grey-headed flying foxes have recently established a permanent roost on land revegetated in the 1980s.
They first appeared in June 2007, I think it was. And Peter said we counted, a couple of Fridays ago, we counted just over 10,000.
Leaving the creek, the expedition starts up Nannygoat Hill, the bush-covered prominence that's a symbol of the fight to save the valley.
Again, that's the spot where I usually stop and make sure everybody's keeping up with things around. And we'll see it here.
Finally, the expedition reaches the summit of Nannygoat Hill, with its panoramic views of the surrounding suburbs.
Stupid vandalism of this kind, dumping glass. That's like smashing the glass. You do wonder what people think they're doing now.
Peter Stevens takes up the story of the long struggle to save the valley.
This nearly went. In 1967 there was an attempt to mine the whole of this sandstone in this hill, take it off for fill for the land for the airport, and it was saved from that by community action. Bit of stroppiness. We've got a lovely clip of that on our historic videos collection, which you can see later. And then the M5 was going to come through, and it was going to take a shoulder off here. It was eventually going to go through over there over those green roofs, so we were going to have an 8-lane highway on raised stilts through all of the bushland.
The struggle to save the valley for future generations is regarded as Sydney's longest conservation battle. It pitted environmentalists, residents and public transport advocates against the Roads and Traffic Authority and the powerful roads lobby. At issue were two conflicting visions of Sydney's future. In 1998, after a 25-year struggle, the M5 motorway eventually went underground, and the Carr government declared it would gather the valley's open space and bushland into a Wolli Creek Regional Park. 12 years later, with the RTA advancing new plans for a duplication of the M5, only 40% of the land promised has been incorporated into the park.